What is up, lads? How's it going? And welcome back to the channel. Game Week 2 came to conclusion last night and it certainly had its ups and downs. We've plenty to discuss ahead of Game Week 3, and with 2 free transfers in the back pocket, it's time to start planning ahead. In this video, we'll be looking at how I fared out in Game Week 2, and we'll also be looking at my transfer plans and team selection ahead of Game Week 3. Let's get into the video. With no Everton or Aston Villa players in the early kickoff, we move straight on to the 3 o'clock games, and starting off at the Emirates, all I can say is Gabriel Jesus is the man. Over 250,000 FPL managers got rid of Jesus ahead of Game Week 2, and if you were one of them, what were you thinking? He scored twice and assisted 2, leading to a 19-point return for the Brazilian. I spoke a lot about Martinelli being the favourite pick over Saka, and thankfully he came away with a goal while Saka blanked. The only downside was Arsenal losing their clean sheet, but a 28-point return from the 3 Arsenal players was a great start to Game Week 2. Moving over to the Etihad, there was great expectations for Erling Haaland's home debut, but he only came away with an assist and a 10-point return from the Ironman. It could have been a massive return from the Norwegian if Foden just squared him the ball when he had an open goal. That being said, considering he only had 8 touches in the game, managers can feel very fortunate he came away with a return. At least he got his return though, and that makes it 2 from 2 for my captain picks. João Cancelo also continued on from his fine form last year, picking up an assist late on and earning an 11-point return from the game. The less said the better about my other 2 midfielder picks, with Neto and Rashford blanking. I'm not sure how Neto blanked after getting by the keeper and somehow missing from 2 yards out, and with United losing 4-0 to Brentford, it meant Rashford only came away with a 1-point return after picking up a yellow. After a frustrating first 2 game weeks of Neto and Rashford blanking, Rashford is looking likely to be the first player to leave my team, with Liverpool up next. Moving on to Sunday's games, and Reece James came out a hero, scoring late on against Spurs to give him a 7-point return from the game. It didn't look great for the right wing back after he picked up a yellow in the first half, and I suppose managers can feel very lucky he got his goal to give him that return. A point to note from Sunday's game, if that Cucurella can keep a spot in that Chelsea team, he'll be great value at 5 million in the game. I think you'd have to feel sorry for managers that took out Kane and brought in Haaland this week, with Kane scoring late on, which means he ended his goal drought in August. Game Week 2 came to a disappointing end last night, with my 3 Liverpool players blanking to Palace. The only upside from last night's game was Salah blanking, and even though I have him in my team, the blank was a good result as I didn't give him the armband. Even after conceding, Trent came away with a bonus point, but it was disappointing that Robbo came off after 60 minutes, but I won't be getting rid as Liverpool have some nice fixtures coming up over the next few game weeks. All of these returns give me a score of 67 points for Game Week 2, and I'm now sitting at 773k overall. I've also got 2 free transfers ahead of Game Week 3, so let's see how I'll be using them this week. Before we get on to my transfer plans, here's some tips I'll be advising ahead of Game Week 3. I've been getting a lot of DMs on Twitter and Instagram as to who you should be getting in to replace Neto and Bailey, so here's my advice on who you should be bringing in. If you have the funds available, the first pick would definitely be bringing in Martinelli, as he's already scored twice in the first 2 game weeks. If you've already got Martinelli in your team, the next player I'd be advising, if you have the funds available, would be Gundogan for City. He's now been named club captain for City, which means he should see a regular role in the team, and we all know how good he performed in the game 2 years ago. If you're looking for cheaper options then, Rodrigo and Gross are good shouts also, as they're both beyond penalties for their own teams. If you don't have the funds available to go for Rodrigo or Gross, you can look towards Brentford in the Silver Jensen, as they have some great fixtures up until Game Week 7. If you've only got 1 free transfer this week, I'd advise on getting rid of Bailey as your first priority and benching Neto this week, as you could potentially play him against Newcastle in Game Week 4. If you own Robbo like myself, I'd definitely advise you on keeping him for another few weeks, as Liverpool have United on Monday night, and they have some decent fixtures up until Game Week 7, which should surely see a few clean sheets in them. If you were one of those unlucky managers to own Núñez last night for his red card, I'd be recommending you to bring in Tony with a lovely run of fixtures at Brentford up until Game Week 7. He's also got the added bonus of being on penalties, so he's definitely my top replacement this week. With the Game Week 3 analysis out of the way, let's move on and have a look at my transfer plans ahead of Game Week 3. With 2 free transfers to use this week, one man who'll be definitely leaving my team is Marcus Rashford. After a promising pre-season, it's been a frustrating first 2 weeks owning Rashford, and United's performance on Saturday night means he'll definitely be leaving my team. I've got 2 players lined up as his replacement, so let's have a look at who I'm considering. After 3 goals in the first 2 weeks, Rodrigo of Leeds is top priority on my list to bring in this week. With the injury to Bamford, it looks like Rodrigo will now be on penalties for Leeds, but that being said, they have a difficult fixture in Game Week 3 against Chelsea, so my focus switches over to Gross. With Mope out injured, it's looking likely that Gross will be on penalties for Brighton, so he's good value at 5.6 million. Brighton also have a great run of fixtures up until Game Week 8, so bringing in Gross should see returns over these run of games. Getting rid of Rashford will leave me with 1 free transfer left, but with Nico Williams having a nice fixture against Everton, I'm reluctant to use the second one this week. Kyle Walker and Cucurella are definitely high up on my watch list, so they could easily make their way into my team for Game Week 4. With Gross looking like the favourable option for Rashford this week, I'll be switching to a 5-3-2 formation, and here's how I'll be lining up ahead of Game Week 3. I'll be starting off with Ramsdale in goals, Trent, Robbo, James, Cancelo and Neco Williams in defence, Martinelli, Salah and Gross in midfield, and Jesus and Haaland up top. By saving one of my 2 free transfers this week, it also means I'll have 2 free transfers for game week 4. With my starting 11 out of the way, we've a slightly tougher pick for the Ironman this week, so let's have a look at the options for our captaincy pick. My first option for the Ironman is Erling Haaland with a slightly difficult fixture against Newcastle. He's already scored twice and assisted once in the first 2 weeks, meaning that he hasn't blanked so far in the game. He had a slightly disappointing performance against Bournemouth in game week 2, but even after only having 8 touches in the game, he still came away with a turn, so it shows how good of a player he is in the game. Newcastle have also looked solid defensively over the first 2 games, so let's have a look at who else we're considering. Our next captaincy option is a man in red hot form and just off the back of a 19-point haul in game week 2 in Gabriel Jesus. He showed managers at the weekend why he's the highest owned player in the game, and he showed that his 8 million price tag is ridiculously underpriced. Arsenal have also scored 7 goals in their first 2 games, so Jesus is definitely a shout for the armband against a promoted side. Last up for the captaincy is Mo Salah with an away fixture against Man United. He was very quiet against Crystal Palace last night, so we'll be definitely hoping to turn things around against United in game week 3. That being said, with how poor United were against Brentford, I'm leaning towards Salah at the moment, as we all know how well he did against them in the 2 games last year. With how badly Man United are playing at the moment, Liverpool could easily score 3 or 4 on Monday night, so for now, I'm currently leaning towards Salah for the armband. I'm currently not locked in on my moves, so don't forget to follow me at FPL Éire on Twitter and Instagram, where I'll post my locked in team before the deadline. There you have it. There's my Game Week 3 team. Best of luck for Game Week 3, and I'll see you in the next video.